A very good morning, dear students. Welcome to e-learning classes of Sacred Hearts of the subject Economics. Dear students, in the previous chapter, we have concluded our chapter number 6, that is the Human Capital Formation in India. And in this chapter, we have concluded some important concepts such as the meaning of human resource. Thereafter, we have discussed the concept of human capital, which refers to stock of skill and expertise of a nation at a point of time. Thereafter, we have discussed the process of human capital formation, that refers to the adding to the stock of the human capital. The next topic that we have discussed was sources of human capital formation, such as expenditure on education, expenditure on health, on the job training, study programs for adults, migration, and expenditure on information. All these elements conclude human capital formation in a country. Thereafter, we have discussed about the significance of human capital formation, such as change in emotional and material environment for the growth. Second, higher productivity of physical capital, innovative skills, and higher rate of participation and equality. Thereafter, we have discussed about the problem facing the human capital formation in India, such as the rising population, brain drain, deficient manpower planning, insufficient on the job training in the primary sector, and the low academic standards. Thereafter, we have started the topic education as an essential element of human capital formation, in which we have discussed about the importance and objective of education. Thereafter, the growth of education sector in India and problems relating to the development of education in India, such as large number of illiterates, inadequate vocationalization, gender bias, low rural access level, privatization, and low government expenditure on education. Dear students, today we are going to start our next chapter of the Indian economic development only, and that is chapter number 7, and the name of the chapter is rural development. So let's get started. Initially, the meaning rural development. What does the meaning of rural development? So it refers to, or rural development means an action plan for the social and economic growth of the rural area. That means, in the simple words, what we can conclude, rural development is a particular process in which the economical as well as the social aspect is being developed over the rural area. See further, the action plan is to focus on the lingering and emerging challenges in the rural area, and the focus remains on two particular heads. The first one is the lingering challenges, that means the challenges that remains in the rural area since a very long period of time, and thereafter emerging the new challenges that is emerging in the rural area. So if we talk about the some of the lingering challenges, then challenge of rural credit, challenge of rural marketing, and the emerging challenges are the need for diversification of productive activities, and the last, the need for the organic farming. Now, we are going to just see the significance of rural development. Why the concept of rural development have been introduced? It is being proved by with some fact and figures or some points. Very first, most of the population lives in the rural area loaded with object poverty. First concept is this, that still a lot of people of our country are living in the rural area, and out of those, most of the people are suffering from the abject poverty. Second, overall growth of the economy would be incomplete until and unless the rural area will be developed. We cannot say that our country is developed only by the urban areas getting developed. For getting the complete concept of development or growth, we are needed both the areas to be developed equally, in which urban area are far better, but if we talk about the rural area, they are far behind. So that is why it is implemented. Third point, the reforms, the economical reforms of LPG liberalization, privatization, and globalization adopted in our country in 1991, they were only the industrial sector or external trade oriented. They ignored the concept of agriculture, that is the essence of the rural area. And in the last, nearly 2% growth rate in agriculture sector. What is the growth rate in agriculture sector? It is only 2%. Contrasting, the overall GDP growth is 7 to 8%. total GDP has a growth of 7 to 8%, and out of that only agriculture is having only just 2%, has created a structural imbalance. So to make the situation again balanced, the concept of rural development have been introduced in our country. A special significance have been given. Now, the next topic is lingering challenges of rural development, and in this, we are going to discuss the two lingering challenges. The very first is the rural credit, and the second one is the agricultural marketing. So, let's get started with the first concept, that is the rural credit. So, rural credit, or simply we can say it agricultural credit, means the credit for farming, and the credit is the lifeline of the farming activity in the rural area. In the rural area, credit is just acting as a life saving hack. And why it is so? There are two specific reasons for that. The very first is the most farming families in India are small and marginal holders producing just enough for subsistence. Most of the farmer, not only all the farmer, but most of the farmers are the small and marginal farmers, and they are just able to produce just for their subsistence. Second point, the gestation lag between the sowing and harvesting. Gestation lag, what is that? The time difference between sowing of the crop and harvesting of the crop is quite large. It is of 3 to 4 months or 4 to 5 months, and these compounds to the need of credit, and due to this only the credit is needed for the initial investment, such as for the purchasing of seeds, purchasing of fertilizers, implementations, and some family expenses also. So because of these two reasons, rural credit is considered as the essence of the development over there. Now the types of rural credit. If we just talk about the types of rural credit, then the rural credit have been divided into three parts. The very first is a short term credit. So it is basically required for the purchase of very basic stuff for the agriculture, such as the fertilizers, seeds, pesticides, insecticides, and even sometime for the payment of electricity bill. See further, the small and marginal farmers hardly save enough to fulfill their short term credit needs. They are earning so barely that they are having the least amount of savings. So, for these basic expenditures, also they have to take the loan. These loans are raised, and what is the time period? It is the 6 months to 12 months. Now, the second one, that is a medium term credit, and this credit is required for what purpose? Just see, the purpose of purchase of machinery, for the construction of fences. Fences are the boundaries of the farm, and the digging of the wells for the permanent means of irrigation. Now, such loans are raised, and what is the time period? 1 year to 5 years. From 1 year to 5 years is the time period. The next one is the long term credit, and it is basically required for the purchase of additional land or for making the permanent improvement for increasing the fertility of piece of land, and the time period is 5 years to 20 years. So these are the different types of rural credit. Now another criteria is there. See, the credit requirement of farmers may also be classified as productive credit and unproductive credit. It is simple. Productive credit refers to the credit that is related to the production activity. For example, purchasing of fertilizer, for example, purchasing of piece of land, purchasing of plant and machinery, tractor, threshers. All these will be considered as productive credit. Why? Because in return it is just going to stimulate the more economic activities. But if we talk about the unproductive credit, then these requirement of credit relates to expenditure on consumption activities, such as consumption done on the personal ceremonies, consumption done on the personal expenses. That means you have just had a party, you had a ceremony, birth ceremony, death ceremony, and so on. So all these will be considered as the unproductive credit. Why? Because in return they are not stimulating any of the economic activity in the rural area. So this is all about today. Today we have discussed about the meaning of the rural credit, thereafter the significance of rural credit, and thereafter we have started the lingering challenges of the rural development, in which we have started the rural credit. We have seen its introduction, we have seen the different types of rural credit, and thereafter the productive and unproductive credit. This is all for today. God bless you all. Lots of love.